Oh, we have interrupted the middle of your song, and we're so sorry. so sorry.
Oh no. What have we done? We just can't get this right. We should probably introduce ourselves.
Okay, so this is Don't Copy That Floppy on Chip It Radio. So you're probably confused because the music just stopped and then people started talking at you. We're a radio show that we try and broadcast every week, and we talk about video game news. We're still in our infancy right now. This is like our second real episode.
Third.
Well, the second episode didn't broadcast.
That's true.
So.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're professionals.
We are. Very.
But anyway, yeah, so we're a weekly show talking about video game news. And I am your host, Lex, and...
I am the other host, Dan.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of topics for today.
Sure do.
Dan, what are these topics?
These topics are some stuff about Sony CEOs being cool guys. Some really exciting information about a new Nintendo console. That's probably not what you're thinking.
Not what you're thinking.
Some general news about upcoming video games and IPs. Some information about the Xbox One and its new project manager. He's the project manager, right? No.
He's the CEO of Xbox.
CEO of Xbox, yes. Phil Spencer. Stuff about Phil Spencer and people's reactions to it.
That was the big Microsoft news this week.
Yes. And then if we have time for it, a silly little article about video games and libertarianism. Then we're going to end off with a brief video game review by me. We each do one. We do a video game review every week. Something new, something old.
Usually we try and do games that are a little less known. Like we're not going to do a AAA title.
Yeah.
But something quirky and interesting that we like and that we think.
And we alternate every week who does the reviews. So I did one. Lex did one last week. And I'm back doing it this week. And then we're going to end off with just some upcoming game releases that you might want to know about. And that's it.
That is it. So let's jump right into it with some interesting news coming out of Sony.
So, as you may or may not know, Sony has been having a rough time of it lately as far as making money goes and keeping money goes.
Now, this is sort of contrary to their console sales, which have been very good.
Yes.
But a lot of other aspects of Sony have not been doing so well, like they sold their laptop business, the Vio.
Yeah, they recently sold their actual headquarters building.
Oh, their actual headquarters.
Yeah, that was a little while ago. So they're it was like the first Sony headquarters building, so it was kind of a big deal because it was where Sony kind of got started. But yeah, they're losing lots of money. They're expecting $1.27 billion in losses for the 2013 fiscal year.
Ouch.
Which hurts a lot. But in response to that, the CEO and president of Sony, Kaz Hirai, is getting ready to take a 50% pay cut and decline his annual bonus. This is according to the Wall Street Journal, by the way.
In an article published May 12th.
Yes. So, I kind of wanted to bring this up because, I mean, these game companies kind of having trouble financially has been a pretty regular topic in the news right now. And you see this kind of thing with other businesses a lot. And I was just kind of surprised to see Sony's CEO so readily deciding to alleviate it by giving up so much of his own paycheck.
Yeah, well,
I think it's kind of cool.
It is cool, actually. Well, two things. One, since 2008, the economy has really, not actually improved all that much.
Right.
So the fact that all these companies are still taking pretty big hits, I think that explains a lot of that. Yeah. But yeah, the second thing is that really speaks to how different American companies and Japanese companies are.
For real. This article actually also does mention that Satoru Iwata of Nintendo took a 50% pay cut as well.
Good.
And the other Nintendo board members took 20 to 30% pay cuts individually. And it does say also that other Sony executives are going to be taking pay cuts aside from just their CEO. So yeah, like you said, not something you hear about with Western businesses. But with Japanese companies, I guess it's kind of this selfless kind of thing, I guess, like keeping the company afloat even at the cost of your own
So
money.
So what I think this is one of the differences I want to draw, and I think this speaks to an article that we talked about a couple of shows ago that we're going to reference again later in the show with the new Microsoft CEO Phil Spencer.
Yes.
So Microsoft starts getting their worst sales numbers for the Xbone.
Thank you for calling it the Xbone.
Yes, I'm trying to get used to that. And their response is, even though they didn't technically have a CEO at the time, it seemed like their response was to try out somebody new.
Yes.
And maybe they hired them for less money, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas with it seems like Nintendo and Sony's responses when they are losing money is not to change up management, but instead to penalize existing management.
Yeah, well, but it seems like the management is taking that upon themselves.
Yeah.
More so than being penalized by some board of directors or something. And, whether or not that is good or bad, I mean, the way you put it made me think the fact that they're not willing to find new people can be bad, in theory, in addition. And I think we spoke about last week, people talking about how some people think Iwata should not even be in charge anymore.
And last week, I was totally in agreement with that. But this week, not anymore. Not anymore. Iwata's genius.
Bless that man.
And we're going to get to that later.
That's the next. It's the next thing we're going to talk about, actually. So it's coming up. That's actually a great segue.
Do you want to segue it? Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not in particular. I just thought it was an interesting story. And it relates pretty heavily to the financial trouble that's been hitting the game industry lately. So yeah. Let's jump right into that Nintendo business.
Nintendo. So last week we talked about how Nintendo's Wii U sales and their projected numbers were very low, and they were kind of hemorrhaging money.
Yes, and a lot of people were calling for Iwata's not calling for his head per se, but saying why is he still in charge? And that was a totally legitimate point considering the Wii U, which was totally his brainchild. I mean, to be fair, the Wii was also his brainchild, and that did very well. But the Wii U did not do well. Nope.
So it turns out Nintendo's. If it's not Iwata, it's somebody else in Nintendo. But
I believe. I mean, he's definitely a part of this.
Is super smart because they're. As of this week, we found out from a Forbes article that was posted on the 8th. Which is actually, was that last week? Might have been last week. Last week.
Yeah. That was last Thursday.
Yeah. So a Forbes article that was posted on the 8th, Nintendo has made a lot of headway with China.
Yes.
Now, the thing you need to remember about China, besides the fact that they're communists, is that...
or just know about China, yeah.
And they like ping pong, I guess.
They sure do. There's an anime about that right now.
Good.
It's a good anime, too.
Is that they have had a 13-year ban on video game consoles.
I did not know that before I found this article, and that struck me as so bizarre.
I know, right? So they, I think maybe that's because they don't want, Western companies coming in and messing with their economy.
That very well may be a large part of it.
And they also, even, for the stuff they do let in, they have very strict censorship rules.
Yes. Yes, they do.
So it was 6 months ago or something. It was the end of last year, the beginning of this year. The sort of ban on consoles went down. And now all of the big three are trying to scramble to, get their consoles sold over there. And Microsoft, I think, was the first one who actively tried to do that.
Yeah.
But they're hitting, or probably likely to hit, a lot of roadblocks because a lot of their content is typically geared toward more mature gamers.
Yes.
And is thus more focused on violence or, in terms of, their shooters that they sell.
Or even just sexual content.
Yeah, in terms of, GTA and stuff. Yeah. And China's not going to go for that.
No,
they're not about that. So Nintendo is making big waves, saying hey, we're making a console specifically for this Chinese market.
Yeah.
That's going to be a cheaper console.
Yes.
A more basic kind of console.
Yeah.
And because it's going to have Nintendo's IPs, those should have very little trouble getting past the Chinese censors.
What Nintendo IPs have objectionable content in them? Let's be real.
Yeah.
But Satoru Iwata said about it, we want to make new things with new thinking rather than a cheaper version of what we currently have. The product and price balance must be made from scratch. So he's really set on making a tailored console for the Chinese market.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. They're not just trying to move in the 3DS and the Wii U. They're going to be starting from the ground up here to make something that really appeals to that market. And also, we should mention that in spite of them saying all of this, an actual console launch is still quite a ways off.
Yeah.
If this were to become a thing. So this isn't something that we're going to see in the next year or two. But definitely something to keep an eye on, and given how rough Nintendo's been having it, if they can pull this off, that it might save them financially.
Well, it's one of the things this article talks about that I think is super interesting, is the way the sort of gaming market has become in China because of not having consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And how, like a high-end console,
yes,
the people who could afford to get that were typically going to get it anyway because they could get it off the black market. Whereas, sort of the like middle-income families and the poorer families and stuff who want to play video games had no way of getting consoles.
Right. They had no real option.
Yeah, and they would typically turn to computer stuff and free-to-play PC and mobile game things.
Right.
So there is literally, like, this whole... For that demographic, there's just a void in, like, the, $40 games market.
Which is obviously also the majority of people gaming in China. It's just the majority of people.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
And so it seems like Nintendo is going in with that in mind. They're like, we want to make a cheaper console and have cheaper games for it. So it seems like they're very much trying to hit that mark, which means they'll be able to get in the homes of, like, everybody in that country who wants to get that system. And, like, that country, there's a lot of people in it.
Right.
Like, more in the US. If Nintendo just dominates in that country, which if they try to make a console specifically for it, there's a very good chance that they will just be the console in China.
I mean, Microsoft has already launched the Xbox One over there.
Yeah, and
they partnered with a Chinese company to launch it, and it's not
doing well because the people because the richer people already have them because they don't have the black market.
And the other people can't afford a $500 console for $60 video games.
Yeah. So it's like, if Nintendo goes in there, corners that market, I'm going to just say it. They've won the console war for this generation.
Okay. You heard it here first.
That market is so big.
It's huge. It's absolutely gigantic.
Much money. Like, Nintendo could just not sell any more consoles in North America and Europe, and they'd still probably beat the sales numbers of Sony and Microsoft if they're the only console in China.
Point, yeah. Like, you're not wrong. I'm gonna step back from declaring a victory in the console war, but
I'm not gonna be squeamish about this.
But I'm not gonna disagree with you. I'm not going to throw down an ultimatum like that, though. That's pretty intense, man. So, keep an eye on this Chinese Wii or whatever it's going to be.
China Wii.
The China Wii.
No, but I'm also just very happy for Nintendo.
I'm glad.
I'm glad doing well.
Yeah, I'm glad they've got a thing that can work out well for them. They deserve it. They're good guys.
That's
that. If you're just tuning in right now, this is not chiptune music, as you can probably tell.
It's two guys talking at you.
Who could believe it? You now.
So this is Don't Copy That Floppy, a news and information podcast.
About video game news and information.
Oh, yes.
Specifically. We talk about video games.
On this radio station weekly.
If you don't turn it off now, you'll hear us talk about video games in like a second.
Maybe you want to do that. I don't know.
That's up to you.
You like AAA titles, audience?
We got a AAA title coming right up for you.
I bet a bunch of people just immediately turned it off.
I hope so.
They were like, IGN.
Wait, I probably shouldn't say that. I probably shouldn't say I hope people turn off our radio station.
No, why would you? You're not horrible. Okay, so our next story.
This is Far Cry 4. Got announced.
Yeah, got announced this week. 2014.
It's coming out this year.
It's set in the Himalayas.
That's pretty cool, actually.
It's really cool.
That's neat. Far Cry 3 was in, like, jungles and islands, but all the Far Cry games have been in jungles and islands, which is a nice setting, and it's different from your typical shooter, at least. But I like that they're departing from that for this one. Because, you can only do the same thing so many times. But Far Cry 3 made quite the splash, especially once they released Blood Dragon.
Quite the splash.
That was not...
It's an island video game.
Yeah. So it... especially once Blood Dragon came out, a lot of people... Because I love that they released Blood Dragon as like a standalone thing. That was such a good idea.
Dude,
but we're not talking about how sweet Blood Dragon is.
One of these weeks we're going to review Blood Dragon.
We should. We're talking about Far Cry 4 at the moment. So yeah, it's November 18th is the current release date. Going to be on the current gen consoles as well as last gen's Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and the PC. No Wii U, obviously. But yeah, it is going to be set in a fictional Himalayan region ruled by a despotic, self-appointed king. So
okay, the poster, I assume that is the king on the poster.
Yes,
that guy is mad pimpin'.
He's pretty pimpin'.
I'm just gonna say it. He's got a pink tracksuit.
It looks like a shiny leather jacket.
It's so cool.
It's pretty great.
He's got a sweet hairdo
and a really cool like Himalayan broken statue throne thing going on.
Awesome.
So yeah, I don't really know what else there is to say about it.
Well, now this is a collaboration between a bunch of studios, right?
Yeah, it is.
So
the Montreal studio is collaborating with Ubisoft's Toronto, Kiev, and Shanghai, as well as the Ghost Recon Future Soldier developer Red Storm. So this is a whole lot of people coming together for this. And given how successful Far Cry 3 was, and how much of a big deal they made out of it prior to the release, they know that they've got something here, which is probably why they're putting so many resources into it.
Do you remember how many different studios worked on 3?
Nope. Not off the top of my head.
We should look that up. We're bad journalists.
I can look it up right now while we talk about this.
No.
Okay.
All
right.
No, but so the only thing I'm worried about with this is you might lose some of that singular vision.
That's a good point.
They're clearly in very different parts of the world.
Yes.
And, it could be
it depends kind of on the form of the collaboration as well. Because it very well could be one studio's just making the models or something, and the others, one studio's working on the story and the writing and everything. Yeah, you get the whole thing going. They mail it off to Kiev or wherever, and everybody has a good day. So yeah. They did also announce more recently, this announcement article is from May 15th, and then, today, they announced, that the director of Far Cry 4 would be the director of Assassin's Creed 3.
The Assassin's Creed 3 director is going to be the director.
Did I say that wrong?
You mixed it up.
I totally mixed it up.
You dropped your spaghetti.
I dropped it everywhere. The guy's name is Alex Hutchinson, though. He was creative director on Assassin's Creed 3. He also worked on Army of Two and Spore under Maxis Games.
Spore was creatively very interesting. The vision for that game was interesting, but I didn't think
the final product was not great.
And when we look at Assassin's Creed 3, we also can say, the final product
was not that great. The glitchiest, least entertaining, and well put together Assassin's Creed game.
So, if anything, this news is fairly off-putting.
Yeah, I when I saw that, I didn't feel very good about it. And Spore,
Army of Two is okay.
I hate Army of Two.
What? Did you see their masks?
I know, they're so cool. You can get your guns plated in gold.
Yeah, it was super gimmicky. Super gimmicky.
I have zero... I have not one iota of love for any Army of Two game. I'm gonna flat out say it. I feel like I usually get yelled at when I say that, so if anyone's calling me an idiot right now, go ahead, but it's not gonna change my opinion. Army of Two sucks.
I mean, the way it controlled, from the little of it I played, just seemed like, Gears of War.
And I mean,
does it have a similar cover system, and you're similarly big beefy bros?
Yeah.
The characters are big beefy bros.
They are. They're big beefy bros, and there's lots of butt slapping going on.
So it just, it sort of seemed like that game in a different setting.
Yes. And... so this guy's track record isn't great, in my opinion. Whether that's his fault, I can't really say. Because obviously, developing games is a team effort. So even if he is the creative director of something, that doesn't really mean necessarily mean that the blame entirely rests with him if a game doesn't turn out as desired.
I think that's...
I mean,
so many people work on games.
Especially in Assassin's Creed 3 case, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I feel like that game was rushed out the door, is part of it, because it's very glitchy and unfinished feeling at certain points.
Yeah, the other thing about, like, video games, especially as opposed to, like, the movie industry, because it's getting to the point where they're extremely comparable in terms of, like, AAA titles.
And budgets and everything.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And the number of people that work on it.
Yeah.
But I think the big difference in, especially AAA games to blockbuster movies, whereas with some blockbuster movies, you'll have the studio pretty much control a lot of what's going into it, whereas others or most, and especially the good ones, the director is really going to be at the helm of that. Yeah. But with games, I think it's still, in terms of the AAA world, it's still very much the studio making most of those decisions, and the director is kind of like...
The publishing company is the one calling the shots, typically.
Yeah, the director is not the final say by far.
No. So, whether this is good or bad, can't really say. I don't like it.
No. Yeah, it is very worrisome.
I am not crazy about the idea of this guy helming Far Cry 4, but what are you going to do? I mean, not that I was the biggest fan of Far Cry 3 or any of the other ones to begin with, but it's still like, I want it to be a good game.
All they have to do is make a Blood Dragon sequel in the 4 engine.
Oh, man.
That's what I'm on.
That's what I'm on. So, other game news.
So again, this is another IGN article from May 12th.
Yeah, May 12th, the creative director and comic artist Joe Mad, the guy behind Darksiders and Darksiders 2, has said that Nordic Games... I believe it's the game company that got the IP. Yeah, the Darksiders IP was up, and Nordic Games picked it up, and Joe Mad said that the new owner, Nordic, seems very committed to continuing the series. As far as my involvement, I can't say at this point. Hopefully we'll all have exciting news about the franchise soon.
Now, is Nordic the people who made the Witcher games?
No.
Okay.
That's CD Projekt. Or CD Projekt. They're like Polish or something.
Do you require what Nordic has made in the past?
You mean, do I recall?
Do you recall what Nordic has made in the past?
Let's find out. Nordic Games.
But yeah, so THQ...
This is not the Nordic Games I was looking for.
As we know, THQ had gone under, and a lot of their IPs were up for auction. So Nordic bought that. They bought Red Faction. They bought a number of other ones.
I'm not going to find this. I went through a Norse toy internet toy store, and then a Wikipedia article about the Nordic sporting event games.
You failed Google real hard.
That was pretty bad. Well, so whatever.
But yeah, so what else did they have?
They acquired the rights to Darksiders, Red Faction, and MX vs. ATV, and some other franchises, because THQ was auctioning off a ton of their properties last year. And they are not a... Nordic's a publisher, not a developer. So they're looking for a creative team to do it for them. So, that explains
things. Maybe they could get the creative team from The Witcher.
Who knows? Well, they're working on The Witcher 3, though.
Those games are really intense.
They're pretty good.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done on them.
They're pretty awesome.
All those graphics.
Oh, man. So, yeah, this could be interesting. I mean, Darksiders, solid games. They're good.
I'm glad they're going to live on.
Yeah, they deserve it. They're not. They fill a little niche, kind of this cool action game genre.
And also, and I know that we don't have as much confirmation on like Red Faction, but because they're doing something with the Darksiders franchise, we assume they will also.
We can hope that they're actually going to be using some of the other stuff.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I would like to see more from that franchise.
For sure.
Well.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll just be really bad, but at least there won't be nothing. I know that can go either way.
But yeah, so if you really like Darksiders, though, don't despair. There may be more on the way. So that's pretty cool. So do our little station identification.
Yes. So if you're just tuning in and you're like, "Hey, this isn't music," confused. You're listening to Don't Copy That Floppy with your hosts Lex and Dan, and we are a weekly show that is going to probably be on Fridays at 7 or 8. that talk about video game news. And we also do a game review a week, and we talk about new releases and upcoming stuff and everything. So hopefully you will enjoy this and look forward to more episodes in the future, because it's only going to go uphill from here.
Probably.
Hopefully Dan will learn how to use Google in the future.
I'm going to shut up and talk about Sunset Overdrive.
Okay, so Sunset Overdrive, and this is... I'm sorry,
article date.
Article
from today.
Okay, it's from today. It's a GameSpot article. Sunset Overdrive was an announced game from Insomniac Studios.
An Xbone exclusive.
It needs them.
It does.
And Insomniac is the studio that brought us Spyro back in the day.
Yeah.
And more recently, the Ratchet and Clank series.
Yep. That's a fan favorite.
They also made Resistance, which I had totally forgotten about, because it's so much grittier than all the other
seriously.
Jeez. Yeah. So they make some really great stuff. They have a great track record. And their newest game, Sunset Overdrive, is just this crazy, Jet Set Radio future meets frickin' Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. And you know a lot more about it than I do. I've not been following it as closely.
I've been watching, I watched a lot of, the cutscene trailers and stuff, and I've seen some of the gameplay, probably not as much as there is out there. But I've been super excited for it because of the studio that's making it, and because, the premise is amazing. It's post-apocalyptic, but it's, goofy and fun post-apocalyptic.
Right.
So the theory is that I had read, this interview with one of the leads, and he had been okay, so we wanted to make a post-apocalyptic game about this guy, but we didn't want the post-apocalyptic story where it was this guy who had a wife and kids and a great life, and when the apocalypse happened, everything went to shit. And everything was horrible. No, we want to make it about this guy who was this slacker loser dude, and as soon as the apocalypse happened, he just his life turns around, and he becomes the biggest badass.
This is what he needed.
Yeah, so
very 80s movie.
Yeah, and there's the color palette on this game is intense.
Oh yeah, totally.
The zombie type enemies, they're all mutants, and they're people. Apparently, there was this new energy drink that was released.
Oh god!
That a bunch of people drank, and it mutated them, and that's how the apocalypse happened.
Fantastic.
So the game takes place in I believe it's the city of Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong about that. I think that's what it was called.
Okay.
And that's where the name comes from. And
right.
It's just about the main character, and I think you have to play some other characters as well.
Oh, interesting.
Just doing all this crazy parkour and hopping around, and movement is similar to something like Jet Set Radio Future or a Tony Hawk game.
Yeah, there's grinding and flipping and
jumping. And you're jumping up buildings and stuff to avoid zombies and just annihilating them with all these kooky, very Ratchet and Clank style weapons.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems not a departure from Insomniac's style, which I think is a very good thing. From the style they're more comfortable with, I guess. Because, like you said, very Ratchet and Clanky. And it's going to have quite a sense of humor, it seems which they're also really good at. So,
now the article that was posted today about this game, I wanted to bring up because I think it's one of the best examples of game marketing, and it's such an obvious thing to do, but nobody ever does this.
Yeah, no companies take the time.
And it's the people at Insomniac who started essentially a YouTube channel called Sunset TV, and it's just every week they just post a 3-minute video that has new gameplay footage and is hosted by somebody from the company, just being hey guys, here's a little production update, and then you can email them questions and they will answer it on this.
Right, which is very cool. It's a very it's a very integrative way of marketing your game.
Yeah,
because you're talking directly to the people who are interested in your video game, and it's very personal, very nice.
Definitely, and you're still
getting welcoming.
So you're getting those game updates, and you're getting the community interaction, which is awesome.
Yeah,
and it's a regularly scheduled thing, and it's a fairly well put together little videos.
Yeah.
And the guy who's hosting it makes all these really corny jokes, and it's funny because it totally is in keeping with the game.
In the spirit of the game, yeah, totally.
So it's just one of those things that I remember Bungie doing some stuff like this when some of the Halo games were coming out, and just having being really good about production diaries. But often with AAA titles, they always want to keep those secrets from you, so they won't release anything.
It kind of reminds me of the Nintendo Directs as well. Just because
totally.
Nintendo's been doing that a lot lately, too. Releasing little tailored videos that are just kind of directly talking with the fans of like, hey, here's some stuff we've got in store. Here's a bunch of info on Super Smash Brothers. And it's cool. It's nice to see it from developers rather than filtered through games journalism and news sites.
Or even just the hardware manufacturers.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're going to put that suit and tie spin on it.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah. So it's nice to hear things straight from the developers' mouths about upcoming games and stuff.
Yeah, and I wish that more people would do this.
Well, maybe if Sunset Overdrive does well, maybe some other companies will give it a go.
Yeah,
you know?
Because especially like with indie game stuff, like
oh yeah,
like we were just watching a bunch of gameplay earlier for Super Time Force. That just came out.
Which looks awesome, by the way.
Yeah, and that was one of those games that like the year that I knew about, like that it was in production. I was like, man, if they had like a weekly video where they just like showed off another character,
another
like,
character, or just a little
jokes,
thing, yeah.
Like, I would have been all about that.
Totally,
yeah.
Because that game has such a good sense of humor. It's so good,
so good. Expect us to review that at some point
definitely.
in the future.
Yeah, gives me an excuse to dust off my Xbox 360. Pick that up.
But yeah, so that was that little thing. What were we going to talk about next?
Xbone stuff.
Oh man, Xbone stuff.
Xbone stuff. Kind of funny Xbone stuff, actually. Good and then funny.
Yes. So, Phil Spencer, when a couple weeks ago we talked about how he had become the CEO, the new CEO.
It was our first actual show, I believe. We talked about that.
And one of the things that he had made a lot of tweets about was, "Hey guys." People had tweeted at him, as soon as he got the job, and one of the ones that he responded to had said, so now when I'm really angry about the fact that I'm already paying for Hulu and Netflix, but I also need to pay for an Xbox Live subscription just to get to them, I can direct that anger at you, because you're the new CEO. And
Pretty much.
His response to it was like, yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
We should probably change that. So as of now, he has changed that.
Which is the coolest.
I know.
Whoa.
He actually, a corporate dude actually going through on his promises.
Seriously.
And in record time. It took him 2 weeks.
Seriously. That is fantastic.
So this is
incredible.
This is an article from Games Radar from May 13th.
Yes.
Although news has been posted everywhere.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that Phil Spencer had said a couple weeks ago when he came in, he said, listen, we're going to concentrate on games.
Yes.
And I know you and I had a conversation about
how
we
were psyched and what we're hoping that he was actually going to do that.
Yeah, and how when the Xbone launched, that was very much not their signal.
No. Sports, TV, Call of Duty.
And what was the thing that gave us all those sports and TV?
Kinect.
The Kinect. And how the Kinect was the Xbox. That was one of the guys'
a curse
quotes.
upon it. I hate that thing.
No, when a journalist had asked one of the people at their conference, he had been Kinect is the Xbox.
Yeah, seriously.
So yeah, when Spencer came in and he was saying, we're going to focus on games, one of the things you and I said was oh, maybe he'll get rid of the Kinect. I so hope he gets rid of the Kinect. And you know what he did?
He got rid of the Kinect!
Oh my god, Phil Spencer.
You can buy an Xbone without the Kinect now, and it's going to be cheaper even.
Phil, I love you.
Seriously, thank you, Phil. Look at this picture of this beautiful man. But that's so great. I still don't want an Xbone, but if I did, I could get it way cheaper now, and I don't have the stupid camera.
Yeah, so now the price is down to $399 for the console and a controller.
Yep.
Which is the same as the PS4. That was a very obvious move that they were let's get in that same price bracket.
Yeah, seriously.
So it's there's also the fact that even before he came in, the DRM the always online
there
thing
were all these other problems
had already
with the
been
Xbox.
taken away.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that stuff on launch that everyone told them was a bad idea.
They've gone back on all of it.
They've gone back on all of it.
Yeah.
So many things. I think it
which is good.
It's great.
Fantastic. Really.
I worry that it's too little too late.
That is the only issue. If they already shot themselves in the foot by launching with it like that. And, that remains to be seen. I mean, they're certainly not winning over anyone in China. But this actually reminds me of a really interesting conversation that was in one of the articles from last week that was about Iwata and how
he shouldn't just come out with new hardware or make the tablet for the Wii U a separate thing.
Yeah.
Because then he would be giving up on his vision, and that can be really bad for consumer confidence.
Right.
But this is an example of them doing that and consumers being like, oh my god, we love you. Right. I mean, it's a different situation, admittedly, because people were saying that these additional things were bad for the Xbone from the get-go, whereas with the Wii U, the tablet, people were initially kind of like, oh, this is cool, could it be good? And then they sort of didn't end up liking it in the end.
No.
But I think it's an interesting sort of comparison there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Well, the person who wrote this article on Games Radar does mention at the very end that they believe it's a little bit disappointing to see the Kinect being sidelined before reaching its full potential. Which I think is a good segue into the next part of this story.
Yes. Not everyone is as happy as us about the Kinect being not part of the Xbox bundle.
This is an article from The Verge. When was this published? Where's the date? There's got to be a date here somewhere.
It's not at the top.
It's not at the top. Well, people on The Verge don't even date. Oh, no, May 13th. This is very tiny. Okay, so there's an article from the day after. This is an article titled, "The Xbox Was the Future. Now it's just a game console." I don't even really know where to begin with this article, because when I first read it, I was like, this has to be like a parody article.
It must be.
It must be, but no, apparently a lot of people are actually like upset about this and think that Microsoft, Phil Spencer has basically put the nail in the coffin on this grand vision that Microsoft has had for like home entertainment. Which, first of all, just because you can't do voice commands and, like, movement commands doesn't mean you can't still design the same types of, like, experiences.
It's not like you can never buy a Kinect again.
Right.
It's still available for purchase. You can still buy the bundled systems. You just now have the option of buying a system without.
Yeah, they talk about all this stuff that you can do with, with the hands-free controls, or not hands-free, but you know what I mean, where you move, and the movement controls and the voice controls. And this guy says that's the vision Microsoft was building with Windows 8, Windows Phone, and most intriguingly with Xbox. And then very dramatically he adds, that vision is dead. Like, whoa.
Okay, so one funny thing about this, that vision actually isn't with any of those other things, because none of those other things have motion controls.
Nope.
They all have the same layout, because they're all using the Windows 8 box stuff.
Yeah.
But just because they've gotten rid of the motion controls doesn't mean the layout of the
has
Xbox
to change.
Operating system is different. It's not.
No.
There's no reports that that's going to be different.
Right.
You just navigate it with a controller now.
Right.
Just like how you navigate your computer with a mouse.
And not to mention, I mean, in a sense, he's right, because the Kinect will probably not see as much action, so to speak.
From developers, yes.
Yeah, now that people have the option of buying things without it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's not gone.
No, it's not that at all.
You can still get one. If you really want to have your stupid hand-wavy controls, you can still buy a Kinect. But other than that, there's not really, like, much to be upset about, although some game developers, I guess, are even backlashing against it, saying, like, that they were interested in doing Kinect
now,
games.
Do you know what company this guy is from?
Phil Tibitowski. I don't know off the top of my head, because this is from a tweet.
Good old Phil Tibitowski.
Good old Phil Tibitowski.
That they're citing in this article, and he works at a game company, saying, "Well, we were interested."
Well, I'm assuming he works at a game company because he's talking about making games, but maybe he doesn't.
But yeah, it's kind of like.
He made Octodad.
Oh, well, I would really like to see Octodad with the Kinect.
See, that would be cool.
But he could still make it for the Kinect.
Yeah.
There's still an install base.
Yeah, Octodad guy.
He should be making that for the Wii U.
He really should.
He should. Because that would super benefit from the Wii U's control scheme.
Yeah, totally.
Man, Phil, go talk to Nintendo.
Go talk to Nintendo, man. I know you're listening. I mean, it's This person in this article also mentions the biggest casualty might be the as-of-yet unrealized potential for the Xbox to be a computer? Just get a computer! Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know if you knew this, but Windows is already on computers.
Windows is already on computers, and guess what? Computers can play games. Whoa. Steam, people. Like...
Steambox.
Like... the Ouya. I think it's a crying shame that the Ouya didn't do well enough to get a second console, because they could have called it the Tuya.
Oh, no.
Anyway, we're not talking about the Ouya. Never speak of it again.
No, I mean, I think there's some validity to the argument.
There is.
We could have seen more come out of the Kinect.
This article comes off like it was written by a huge drama queen.
Oh, no, it totally does.
Like...
but here's the thing, like, the first Kinect. Admittedly, that's not nearly as advanced as the new Kinect.
No, it's not, but...
But did we ever see any games that utilized that correctly?
No.
No. So...
I mean, Just Dance.
Okay, Just Dance.
Yeah, that real winner.
Point taken.
But, to be fair, with the casual crowd, Just Dance was very, very popular. But still.
So, yeah, I mean, like, I don't... the hardware has more potential in terms of what it can do.
Even so, I think Microsoft's aware of what dropping the Kinect like this means. Phil Spencer said, we want to focus on games.
Yeah,
this guy says, now it's just a game console. That was the idea.
That was the idea.
Like,
and yet, I think they probably weighed the benefits.
Pros and cons of all
the pros and cons of, like, keeping this thing in the hopes that really good games would be designed for it, and dropping it and hoping that more people would buy the console.
Right.
And I think that dropping it to have more people buy a cheaper console that doesn't have this seemingly extraneous piece of hardware was the better call.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we've got about 15 minutes left.
Yep.
And I think, do you want to jump right into your review and we can save this Libertarian story for next week? Just like we always do.
I want this Libertarianism story to be a running gag. That we never actually talk about, but always say we're going to talk about. Okay. Libertarians. It'll be a running gag, just like libertarianism.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. All our libertarian listeners.
I did some research into this story today, actually.
Oh, yeah? Maybe we should talk about this.
Do you want to forego your extremely planned review?
My super planned review?
I know
that I planned a half an hour before recording. Yeah, let's forego the review this week. I'll save it.
Okay.
Because I'd like to talk about this. I feel like we're never going to get to it if we don't. So let's jump right into video games and libertarianism.
So if you've just tuned in and you're really confused about why you're hearing about video games and libertarianism,
as most would be,
you're listening to Don't Copy That Floppy on chipbit.net, Chipbit Radio. And we are a weekly show that broadcasts around this time, assuming we get our software to work. And we talk
hasn't happened yet.
And we talk about video games and news and pop culture.
Yep.
And here's just like this. In this example, it's pop culture. It's kind of just a fun time article. Okay, so this is an article from the Washington Post, from their technology department, published May 8th, and it's about how there is a libertarian magazine, which I already was like, there's a libertarian magazine? Yeah, okay.
It's called Reason.
Reason?
Free minds and free markets.
Oh man, it's already, the irony's stacked on so heavy right now. And on the cover of the latest issue of Reason, there was, their main article was called Video Game Nation.
In GTA font.
Yes, and the cover is a reference to the...
There's a GTA. It's like a promotional art piece, I believe, for Grand Theft Auto 5. Actually, I don't think it's the actual cover of the game.
No, it's a thing that they drew for the Reason magazine in the style of the cover of GTA.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, no, but there's a picture just like this that was used as promotional art for GTA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is like a straight parody of existing GTA art.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But the cover features a guy with, his 360 controller and his headset.
And his Four Loko.
And his Four Loko.
And his bong.
And a bong and a 3D printed gun.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, it says in the article that's what that is.
I thought it was like a stapler.
And he's sitting on his bed playing his video games, and in the background there's this super hot woman
yelling at him,
clad, being like, can you please pay attention to me? And he's just got his hand up, like, with his pointer finger
Like,
out,
excuse me.
Yeah, excuse me 1 minute while I play my video games.
While I play my video games and start a free market.
So the crux of this article in Reason magazine is about how libertarians are, like, they are gamers. Libertarians, like, should be gamers. They go together like peanut butter and jelly. This
is so weird.
It's very weird. And here's the reasoning. And this is a quote. People who play tend to be more tolerant, pretty skeptical of state power, and take a more grassroots, bottom-up view of the world, and are certainly more in favor of legalizing marijuana. So I was like, okay, so A, you just stereotyped the gaming community.
Like, super hard?
It's
super hard.
But also, most of these don't make any sense. Like, they tend to be generally more tolerant. Okay, have you ever played an online shooter?
You ever played Xbox Live, like, once?
Like the guy on the cover of your magazine?
Yeah, seriously.
Because you won't see a lot of tolerance there.
Nope. The polar opposite. Bigotry abounds.
They're skeptical of state power. I don't know where your evidence for that's coming from.
There isn't any.
Because I don't really think that's a topic that comes up with gamers very much.
No.
They like a grassroots, bottom-up view of the world. Like, most gamers are, especially gamers who like GTA, are more into AAA titles.
Yeah.
Now, if you're trying to talk about the Steam crowd, I can actually see that.
Yeah.
Because they're into, like, games that get kickstarted
and indie
like,
development in general.
Stuff.
Small business things.
But, like, the people who play GTA, no. AAA titles are not grassroots.
Neither are the things that so many casual gamers play, like Zynga games on Facebook.
Candy Crush.
And Candy... Oh, God! Like, that stuff is the polar opposite of that. It's the biggest corporate...
money grab.
Like, money grab of all time.
Totally. And are certainly more in favor of legalizing marijuana. Okay, this is true, but only because everyone in America under 30 wants to legalize marijuana.
Fair point.
Most gamers are in that age range.
Yeah, so that has nothing to do with them playing video games.
Yeah, it just happens to be that they're the right age.
The demographics match up.
Yeah, so it's like, okay...
Sure, Reason.
I don't like Reason. Your reasoning is very flawed.
I like this quote. If there's any one trend to take away from a poll looking at gamers, it's that gamers don't like to be told what to do with their lives. Nobody likes to be told what to do with their lives.
No one.
Well, find me one person who's just like, I just want everyone to tell me what to do all the time. I hate making choices. Like, are they deciding this because games are all about choice nowadays? Like,
I get, but
this is baffling.
Like with GTA, that's true, but with like AAA shooters, there's no divergent story paths in that. None of that. What I really like is that Welsh, who's the publisher of the editor-in-chief of the magazine, I think, 45. And this is a quote from the Washington Post article. Welsh, 45, says his own last sustained period of video gaming was a stint with Civilization 2 in the 90s, but that the magazine has, quote, a lot of gamers on staff.
Oh,
so it's like,
such a big gamer. I played Civ 2 in 1992.
Now, hey, I'm not going to dispute that if you played Civ for a long time, you are a gamer.
Yeah.
Because listen, you get wrapped up in Civ.
That's good stuff.
What I think is funny is that Civ, like, libertarians are, like, not into, like, government spending for, like, infrastructure and stuff.
And that's what that game's about.
Yeah, that's all that game is about.
It's like him being like, I love SimCity.
Yeah, I know, right?
I love it so much.
and
this game is so libertarian.
And, like, libertarians are like, we should spend no money on the military. You know what the only victory condition in Civ 2 was?
Killing everybody.
Military victory. Like, you could play Civ 5 and be a libertarian.
Here, I grabbed up another piece of this article from the issue, the magazine issue that this was in, of video games every libertarian should play. If you're a libertarian and you're still listening, here you go. Deus Ex, Fable 3, Fallout 3, L.A. Noire, Papers, Please, and Bioshock.
Okay, the Bioshock thing I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because if you... Okay, so, for those who don't know, libertarians, a lot of libertarians, especially people like, what's his name? Paul Ryan? in Congress.
Yeah.
Probably beefing that name.
Right.
But he talks about how Ayn Rand is like,
Hey, I believe it's pronounced Ayn Rand.
No, it's Ayn Rand.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry.
Is like a big influence on him because of her work and how she sort of has this, or had this very libertarian mentality. But BioShock and like her big book Atlas Shrugged that a lot of libertarians point
and
to.
BioShock took a ton of cues from all of her philosophies and stuff.
Yeah, but BioShock is like post-apocalyptic in the sense that here's what happens.
Work.
Yeah, here's what happens when you apply all these philosophies about individualism. You don't have cops, and then everyone goes crazy and murders each other.
Yep.
That's why BioShock is a horror game, because it's about a society that tried to use Ayn Rand's philosophy, and everyone murdered each other.
Oh, God.
So that's why I think it's so funny that libertarians are like, yeah, play BioShock. And I'm like, seriously, dude? If you play BioShock, you might learn why you shouldn't be a libertarian.
Well, Fable does have quite the free market going on.
Okay, I guess there's an argument.
Is that just like, it's like they really wanted a free market sim? So they can go online on the game and just be like, oh my god, this market is so free. Now, I can't get enough of this.
One of the things they mention is...
I'm going to trade all these pies.
All those pies. One thing that they mention is EVE Online.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because EVE Online is one of those things that like it has a totally free market with no regulation.
It does.
And
everyone murders each other about it constantly.
Yeah, everyone murders each other in that game and steals their money, and there's like mass piracy.
That basically is the game.
That's what it's become.
Yeah.
Because that's like, when you get to a certain level, that's like just what you can do. So people do that, and they form into huge clans and then like raid the other clans.
Yep.
And it's like it's like a Road Warrior in space post-apocalyptic.
Serious.
Future.
And Fallout 3 is another one on this list, which is literally Road Warrior.
It's literally Road Warrior. So it's like, if you're like really into this, I'm like, really? Because these are like terrible visions.
These are all games it's like you shouldn't.
They're like super dangerous.
These are all like please don't do libertarianism.
It's only fun because like it's a fantasy that you get to play out.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want to actually have this in real life because it would be horrible.
As much as I think we could keep talking about this, we should probably.
Yeah, we've got like almost 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
We have a little more than 5 minutes left. I want to mention one last thing for this article that I think is hilarious.
Go nuts.
So there's also a feature in the Reason thing on Representative Jared Polis. Mm-hmm. And he is a prominent gamer in Congress.
Okay.
And Welsh, the writer for Reason, describes Polis as probably the most libertarian dude in the House. So I looked
sounds like a line from an 80s movie.
It does.
He's probably the most libertarian dude in the House, man.
So
I got a party.
So I was like, oh, Jared Polis. Like, I'll look you up. I looked him up. Okay. Funny thing about Jared Polis, he's a Democrat from Colorado. So he's not in the Libertarian Party. And he is a gamer, and he's homosexual, and he's also Jewish. So he's fit in a lot of minority brackets.
Seriously.
But he does not have libertarian policies. He's a Democrat. He's progressive policies.
This entire article is just mind-boggling.
It's like, man, the people who write Reason magazine are real dumb. And they stereotype gamers, which I don't appreciate.
They're stereotyping everybody pretty hard here. And they're just assuming that everybody's libertarian.
Like, oh, that guy acts like a libertarian. So
he must be a libertarian.
No, he's actually something else.
He's playing Fable 3. I saw him trading those pies. This guy's a straight libertarian.
That economy.
That free market's so good.
So good, girl.
So good, girl. Trade the pies, girl. Trade the pies. All right, on that note, let's talk about some upcoming game releases.
Last segment. We got 5 minutes left.
Let's do it. Next week, May 20th, we got Drakengard 3. If you haven't heard of Drakengard, or its kind of sister game Nier, they're really weird.
Now, what are these games, man?
They are action RPGs.
Okay, that's
by a Japanese company. No, it doesn't. And that's what they want you to think. I have only played the first Drakengard game, and I've also played Nier. These games are super messed up. These games start as... You kind of go into it thinking, oh, this is going to be a fantasy game where I fight things with a sword and ride a dragon. You're not wrong. However... I'm trying to put into words here how ridiculous this stuff gets, so I'm just going to use an example from the first game.
Okay.
This is one character from the first game. She is an elf. People in this world can make creepy pacts with magic creatures. But when you make a pact, you lose something. This elf lady lost her womb in her pact, and as a result, went super nuts and started eating babies.
Okay.
This is a main character in the game who travels with you for the majority of it. In an ironic twist, in one of the game's many different endings, giant monster babies come from another dimension and eat everybody. Everybody. You included. It's a bad ending, but she's the first one who gets eaten, because she's all like, oh, the babies!
That is actually a super sexist character.
Yes.
Because it's like saying... If a woman loses her,
ability to have kids,
then she goes crazy.
She'll go super nuts.
And evil.
Yes.
That's horrible. That's really horrible.
That's really bad. But every character in the game is super messed up. Like that. And the whole plot is super messed up. There's space babies at the end. What do you want? But Dragon Guard 3's coming out. From what I hear, because it's been out in Japan for a while, gameplay, much better than the prior entries in the series, which is good, because it was not great before. Right. So if you're looking for a decent action RPG, apparently this can deliver on that. However, strap in. Because that story's going to take you on a ride. Oh, yeah. Because what I've also heard is the story is just as messed up. So yeah. If you're looking for something very weird and very Japanese. And very dark.
Now what else we got?
The next big thing... would probably be Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein: The New Order.
The New Order.
We've been waiting for this.
People have been waiting for this. I haven't actually followed this game too closely.
I watched a lot of when they first announced it. I watched a lot of the stuff about the special guns they had that look cool.
Wolfenstein first-person shooter series started way back when.
It's a big deal.
I believe the Wolfenstein 3D was the first-person
like
shooter.
Bros with Doom.
Yeah, it was Bros with Doom. I can't remember which came first. I think Wolfenstein did, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, it made a resurgence several years ago. They released just Wolfenstein on the PS3 and 360. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's still kicking around.
And that's coming out the 20th, so in 4 days.
Yeah. Drakengard's not your cup of tea, maybe Wolfenstein is.
Maybe Wolfenstein is.
No baby eating in that one, probably.
Maybe. Those Nazis
Those Nazis had some stuff.
Now, I'll mention it. We mentioned it earlier. I'm going to mention it again.
Super Time
Force. Came out May 14th, 2 days ago.
Yeah. It is worth your time.
I mean, we haven't even played it.
No pun intended. No pun intended.
Oh.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
Yeah, this game looks rad.
The only other thing that seems somewhat interesting is R-Type Dimensions on the PS3. R-Type is a long-standing shmup or shoot-em-up.
Shmups.
I just like saying shmup.
Now, shmups were probably most popular in the arcade.
Definitely. Arcade days. These are these side-scrolling shooters where you're usually in a plane or a spaceship or something, just blasting everything. Yep. R-Type's a pretty long-running, famous series of them. And I guess it's getting a new entry on the PlayStation 3, which is coming out on the 20th as well. Nice. So if you're a fan of shmups, check that out.
Check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are pretty much out of time.
Yeah.
So, you've been listening to Don't Copy That Floppy, on chipit.net, Chipit Radio. I'm your host, Lex.
I'm Dan.
And
thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Hopefully on time.